Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the DwnFwdPUNCHcast. This is episode 20. I'm your host, Jason Saris, and with me is David Reed.
I'm here to talk about games with you.
Awesome.
That was very robotic. It was
That
like,
was.
hello, I am
It
here.
was
to
really
talk-
weird.
I'm here to talk games.
We've replaced Dave with an Android version of Dave. Maybe that'll be your next project. You
Does
had
not
Dave
com-
TV,
does
and
not
now you
compute.
can do
Does not
Android.
compute. Doesn't-
Also is Topher. How you doing, Topher?
Doing okay.
Yeah. Well, a lot of animation from both of these people.
He
today.
might be a robot too, I think, actually. I'm pretty sure it's not that he was replaced. I think he might actually been a robot
He
the
was,
whole time.
he was just born a robot, yeah. So it's been a while since we actually had a new recording of an episode. So E3 kind of happened. We did a bunch of them all at once, and we was originally going to release them all within that week. You know, adulthood happened, and that wasn't able to be a possibility. So instead, we released them each week for the subsequent weeks. And then we had our mini episode from Comic-Con,
Yeah, that's right.
which was a blast, and I'm sad that you couldn't be there
Yeah, it
with
was
us.
a lot of fun. I will never forget it. It was great.
But we actually haven't gotten together to do an episode in a long time, so I'm glad that we're doing one today.
First episode of 2018, huh?
I don't know if it's been that long, but all right. So today, I wanted to get into the recent announcement with Sony. Sony has met with their investors, and they gave kind of a financial overview of where the company is. And this is big news because I don't know if you guys know, but Sony has actually been not doing very well for the last like 2-3 years. The only division of Sony that has been doing well has been PlayStation.
Yes, I
so
do know
PlayStation has been performing very, very well, but Sony as a whole, not so much. They decided to go through like a restructuring project, and Kaz Hirai was meeting with investors, and he said, you know, things are looking much better, and
That reminds me. I think I know what they're going to do to turn things around.
okay,
The Sony Walkman's coming back.
the Sony Walkman's coming back. We're
They're
gonna
bring back
take a
cassette
step
players.
backward to
Yeah.
go forward. I like it. Yeah.
And if it takes off, then they're going to do the CD player, but they're not going to do the one with what is it, the shock protection, so like you can run with it.
Well, not at first. First
of
you do the
course,
regular
if
one,
it-
then
if
you
the-
add
if
that
that
down the
takes off, then they'll do the one with the shock.
Yeah.
We're going back to move forward again. It's a great idea. And Ridge Racer's coming back out. I'm pretty sure
Sure, why not?
it's going to rival Forza.
So anyways, have either of you guys read up on this at all? Have you seen this or heard about this a little bit?
No, I honestly don't do a whole lot of interest. I have no interest in financials from these companies. I just want to play their games,
Which is fair, and it does relate
but
to
I don't
playing
mind
games.
talking about it.
The reason why I bring this up is because, first of all, Kaz is the first PlayStation guy to run Sony. Like, it's never happened that way. Normally, you have, you know, other people from the division that kind of, ascend to the top. But Kaz is the first guy that came from the PlayStation house. So the fact that PlayStation has been the strong, the wing of Sony, and now they have their PlayStation guy in charge of the whole company, bodes well for the PlayStation brand.
Yes.
In addition, I mean, obviously, the success that they're having means like, hey, let's keep writing out this success. But a lot of what was outlined in the presentation was things that are planned for the Sony PlayStation brand and things that they're going to do moving forward and whatnot. So I'll give you a quick overview, and then I want to hear your thoughts. One of the reasons why Sony or PlayStation is doing well enough to help support Sony is actually because of a turnaround that has been happening with Sony VR. PlayStation VR, rather.
Okay.
Now, we've talked about this ad nauseum, that VR has its issues, and none of us are super on board with VR. And even when we've had guests join the show, everyone was kind of lukewarm with
I'm
it.
pretty on board with VR.
Okay, well, you're on the...
Oh, he's also played it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which neither of you really have.
That is true.
That's true.
So, that might be a factor.
It could be.
I've done other VRs, but not the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, you've done a cell phone in front of your eyes. That's right.
I did that thing in YouTube where, like, if you turn
I've
your
done
phone,
the Oculus,
it
too.
like, I can look at like the blue angels flying by like looking with my phone. It's
Oh.
kind of
So
like
there you
VR.
go.
There.
I'm sold.
It's a whole...
Give me
Okay.
$60
But we've talked-
app. I want it.
But the point is...
The
go on.
point is, we talked before about how the originally there was a slow start to PSVR, and that we thought they needed to really push it at E3 if they were going to try to make this successful, even though we, at least the two of us were kind of lukewarm to it. Things are starting to turn around. The most recent numbers actually project that they are about to hit their goal that they had set for just a little bit further from now. So they're about to hit their goal actually a little bit early, which is big. So now part of this is they want to take the PSVR and branch it out still through PlayStation into other non-gaming things.
Okay.
Good move, bad move? What do you think?
It depends on what they're going to branch it out into. Like, if it's going to be in the medical field, then it's probably a huge move. If they're going to put it, like, in art museums, then it's probably something that who cares? Like, that's where all dead Connects go to die.
That's true.
Is
Yeah.
art museums now.
I've seen those a couple times as well. I didn't see anything about the medical field, and I'll put some of the slides up on the screen so that our viewers can see. But some of the things that were kind of illustrated were like movies, television stuff. You know, they seem to be doubling down on PS View. Is that what they're?
Yeah, it's like their
TV service.
Yeah,
TV
so they're doubling
service.
down on that, and I think they want to incorporate that with VR. But I saw like things for like concerts. You know, where maybe you put yourself into a I mean, like, there's a lot of things that you can probably imagine putting yourself there while you're actually sitting on your couch.
A concert, I think, is something I could at least imagine the concept of. I don't know about like TV or movies unless they're planning on doing like sit in a theater in like a virtual reality theater, which I
Like
don't
the
think
virtual Netflix app, because
which is
that's exactly
terrible.
what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
You can do that in Second Life, too. You can sit
Yeah, you
around
can
and
do
watch
anything in
movies
Second
with
Life.
people. It's true.
Yeah. Is Second Life in VR, or is that
No, but
just?
Second Life is still a thing.
Yeah, really. It's
Yeah,
still-
it's still a thing.
I mean that came
I
out
don't
how
know
long
why.
ago?
It's like virtual PlayStation Home, which is quite possibly the worst thing that's ever happened.
PlayStation Home.
You want this couch? Buy it with real money. Where did all my friends go? They stopped playing VR Home. Go away.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's targeted to a very specific type of person, and apparently it's not us.
No.
But go ahead.
Well, I that leads me to think too that like there are so many things to do, right? Like I use my PlayStation for two very simple reasons. Three actually. I use TV apps or subscription-based apps, so like
Okay.
Netflix, Hulu, and whatever, Amazon.
Sure.
I play games. And then I browse the store for digital titles or anything else that might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. I don't use any other service. I don't use Share Factory. I don't stream because I don't have you can't do like, unless you have a PS4 camera, like you can't like, you know, get a camera, and it offers like a little less, without the use of external devices like an Elgato, for example, which allows you to stream through a little like conversion box
Right,
into
right,
your, you know, into your PC, and then, you know, like using more powerful PC programs to kind of get that whole look to your actual stream, like creating the graphics on the side and you're having your face up in the corner. You can't really do that with PlayStation just from internal, like the internal.
Right, you got to use the
software.
capture card and everything else.
Yeah, you got to use all this other stuff, which you have to like all separate. And it's not Sony affiliated, so whatever. And then there's, you know, so like I said, there's like Share Factor, there's PS View. I don't know. There's probably a bunch of other things. And honestly, like I don't use any of that stuff. And then I think about like, I know me, and I know that I'm not necessarily the one who's always like jumping in the forefront of technology, but I'm like, how many other people are using all of this stuff? And is there enough of them to warrant the use of it, or to even warrant the creation or the maybe like, you know, furthering development on it or something, you know, and keeping it updated? Like, you know, you mentioned PS View. Well, PS View I've heard great things about, and then I heard immediately within a few months terrible things about it when they took everything away. Like they took a bunch of good stuff away from people, and they were like, well, I'm not using this anymore. But on that, it was awesome. So maybe if they go back, I could hear some good things again.
I just think it's interesting because Sony was always the company that was known for like televisions, right? Like televisions and computers and those kind of things. And those are specifically what Kaz is saying they are going to, you know, kind of pull away from, and it's going to be a very small part of their business. And now the more bigger focus of their business is going to be, you know, software and consoles and this VR element, which I think is good news for gamers because they're refocusing a lot of their efforts and resources into gaming.
Or just incorporating PlayStation, the brand as a whole, into their other products, seemingly kind of saying like, in order to, like, you might as well get a PS4 and then you'll be able to enjoy all these other things that we have, you know?
Right.
Now, but that doesn't always work. I mean, they sold the PS Vita, and that really kind of, well, it's not worldwide did it fail, but it failed in America, sadly.
Is that even for sale in Japan anymore?
Yes, it's very big over there.
Still?
Yeah, because there's a lot of great companies that make concept for, or games for it, rather.
I thought the Vita was like pretty much dead everywhere.
Well,
at
it
this
was
point.
dead from the minute it launched in America. It was automatically dead, but it just took a long time. And it's still around. It's just not selling still.
But
They
it's
don't even sell
but it
new
competes with Nintendo in Japan still.
I don't want to say there's a competition involved, but it's definitely a positive aspect of Sony's business in Japan. Yeah.
Wow, I'm
Well, think
surprised
about it.
because I thought for sure that Nintendo had a stranglehold on all the mobile gaming over there.
Insert JRPG here. Doesn't matter. You put something like that out and it's ready to go. And with a lot of people loving Sony anyway in Japan, the fact that you can play your PS4 games on your Vita is a really cool factor that actually you can do here as well. But you got to own a Vita to do it.
Yeah, but
And
that
I'll
also
never
doesn't
own a
work the
Vita.
way that was advertised. I mean, I think we talked about this once before that that a lot of people had a problem with Sony and there was like a lawsuit or something because it isn't what it was advertised to be.
The advertisement was, it's like, oh, do you have this game and you have it on a PS4? Well, great. Just as long as your PS4 is in a network, take your Vita anywhere in the world that you want and you can play your games from your house.
Right.
Or, on the road. It's like, that sounds amazing, but it doesn't sound like it would work that well. You know what I mean? Kind of like
it doesn't.
Kind of like when they said that
They got latency issues and everything else.
Oh yeah, well, and it's the same thing that I deal with on a constant basis with the Steam Link. Steam Link is the same concept. It's like, hey, instead of playing your Steam games on your computer, why don't you play them on your TV? Just hook your box up to the network and you're good to go. And I'm like, okay, and then I did. And I'm like, these games are unplayable, and they have been for 2 years.
So what do you think this means for PlayStation? I mean, do you agree that this is a positive thing for the PlayStation brand? I mean, do you foresee any of these resources being reallocated towards more game development or more content or anything along that nature?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think it could be a positive thing for the PlayStation brand if they're gonna start focusing on it more heavily. I mean, not that it needs more focus in the sense that it's lacking, but if they're
if it's making you money, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to continue to, if you had a tree that grew dollar bills, you would keep planting those trees,
sure,
right?
And that makes sense. So it could be a good thing. I don't know. I don't know what they're planning to do with PlayStation VR in trying to expand that beyond gaming. I'm not sure about it.
Sports was in there, and I don't know,
That was one thing they took away originally.
Was there sports on there originally?
Yeah, you could access a bunch of various sports from PlayStation View, and I think they took a lot of that away.
Talking about View?
Yeah.
So that's the
for View,
TV.
not for VR.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
They want to incorporate
sports. I thought you were still talking about.
And I imagine, and the picture that they showed in their presentation slide was of football. So I don't know if the plan is to, have a football game take place while you're, virtually in the middle of the field and people are running like this.
Now that would be
interesting.
cool,
but how many times can you do that?
Well, and that's
and also, how would you put the camera there without?
a lot of that
Stake it
stuff?
right in the
I feel like
middle.
it's
Or maybe
novelty.
they put the camera on the players.
Okay, that would make you throw up though for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
It is a novelty thing.
I mean, VR is still, to me, a lot of it is still a novelty, I guess. I look at it that there's really not anything that I feel. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Have you heard or read any of the articles about Splatoon's motion controls by chance?
I feel like I read a headline that complained about them, but I didn't look into the
I wonder if
details.
you saw the same one I did, because there was one that complained about them in a satire form. It was basically saying, hey, people on the other team don't use motion controls, they suck. Basically saying, they're incredible, and I'm just trying to convince you not to use them so that you're terrible and I'm not. Right? Because they're incredible.
Shame on me for not actually reading the article.
Well, that's the beauty of the article. Yeah. So, I bring this up because Splatoon's motion controls, they don't even tell you that the way you can do it, and it's basically the Joy-Cons separated. Okay, it's not attached to the system, and it's not in the dock.
Sure. Yeah.
So you have one in your left and one in your right, and the one in your left is your movement, left, forward, front and back, and then this whole controller is your gun. You move it around just like any way you want. It takes 30 seconds to get used to it, and then it's the most incredible thing ever. It changes the way the game is played, and Nintendo never even advertised it. That, to be honest with you, in fact, it took me over a week to realize I could do that. So it's not like I loaded the game, I was like, oh wow, this is a really cool thing. It's just I thought there were two ways to play, with either the sticks or with a Pro Controller. And that was it. So anyway, I say this because that, to me, in a way is a novelty. But because it works so well, it's the way I play the game now. I don't want to play it the other way. Whereas, say we talk about this football thing, it could be really cool, especially like the novelty can last even further when it's like, hey man, I know I've done this, but you haven't, so come on over to my house sometime and let me show this to you. And you'll be like, dude, this is incredible. And that'll be really neat. And then maybe that gets you to go buy it because that feeling is so cool that you're like, man, I got to have one of these things. And then maybe you'll want to show people. So there's always like that small trickle of profit maybe from people that experience something. Like, what if you saw something at the convention you were just at and you made kind of an impulse buy based on how cool it was, right?
Yeah.
That happens a lot with people. I've done it a million times in my life, and I know you have.
Oh, of
whatever.
course. I'm king of the impulse buy.
But again, lasting technology is, I think, where
I have
the
a
key
giant
is.
mecha sold. I have a giant, what do you call it?
Titanfall, yeah.
Yeah, I have a giant robot statue of a Titanfall Titan that was totally an impulse buy.
Where is that now?
Oh, it's buried in my basement. In storage.
So it's in a closet, basically.
Oh, basically, yeah.
Okay.
It's still in the box. Don't really touch it. It was a good buy.
But I love when I hear about
Cheap,
companies
too.
trying to come up with, like, hey, here's our focus now. We're going to create all this new stuff. And that's fine. I mean, you always have to kind of be recreating yourself. You can't just stay stale. But then, who knows if any of this stuff is going to stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, that's fantastic for them. Maybe they've hit the next big thing. But if it doesn't, and again, like, VR, you take a game like Farpoint and you're like, okay, I can see the future of first-person shooters when I play Farpoint. But then you take a game like any other game, like Robinson the Journey, and you're like, that was fine, but I don't want to play this again, and I don't want any other games like it. But it was a cool experience because I'd never felt this way about a game before, All of this is a crapshoot, man. It's really just throw something at a wall and just hope it sticks. And if it sticks, then you run with it, Think about every franchise in the history of video games has been like that. It's not like they went into it knowing this was going to be the next big thing.
No, but I mean...
You heard about Horizon Zero Dawn, right?
Yeah.
The game was a huge risk, and they actually tried to get them not to make the game because they were like, I don't think we should do this because maybe this doesn't sell very well, and you're putting a lot of resources into it. The game's huge.
I don't think that that's every instance, though. I mean, I think that that's more the exception. I think you could do market research. There are elements to it, especially with like a new thing like VR. I think that that's a more valid point than just with games. But
Sony jumped the gun on it, and good for them in a way because Microsoft still doesn't have any plans for VR at the moment.
Right.
And then the Oculus Rift is, I don't know, like it got discounted to like almost $200-$300 just for the summer to try to sell some units along those lines.
Well, it has to. It's got to compete. I mean, it is right now. Sony is leading in the VR market because of the install base that they have. I forget the exact number that they have, but it is more than double what their next biggest competitor, which is the Oculus Rift.
And it's $450 cheaper than the next thing out there, which is HTC Vive.
Yep.
That's huge.
And that's why they're trying to push this thing. So, but you mentioned Microsoft doesn't have the VR thing. Speaking of Microsoft, I wanted to pose this question to you, Christopher. So, the VR thing aside, right now PlayStation with their plans here is doing a lot of like trying to be that come here for the content, right? I mean, they're getting a lot of their revenue off of the sale of consoles, the sale of software, and PSN subscriptions, okay? Those are like the big three that was driving a lot of this change and cause for the whole restructuring to kind of focus around these areas. Now they're doubling down with the PS View, which is, they want to put more original content on that. They want to do more television. They want you to cut your cord at home. They want you to focus on all those things. Is it just me, or does this sound a lot like the abandoned Xbox plan that happened a few years ago that people revolted over?
No, not really. I mean, if you're referencing the Xbox One being interconnected with television, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago? The plan was Xbox One to be the center of your entertainment,
right, okay.
family room. You wanted to integrate, that's why they did the pass through with the television, because they wanted you to be able to switch back and forth between their original content shows, and there was talks of having, this. They have all these channels that you can kind of download as apps and all these other things, and it was going to be very non-gaming related. And while Sony gets a lot of this credit for being the gamer focused, and I don't disagree that they are. They have a lot of good content for gamers. It's just interesting to me that they are the ones that are pushing all this like outside of gaming content now, where Microsoft, who was originally doing that, people kind of flipped out about it. They've pulled way back on that.
Well, Sony as a whole has.
But there's a huge difference if we're talking about the television aspect of the services between Microsoft's original Xbox One thing and PlayStation Vue. The difference is with Microsoft, you were, like you said, it was a pass-through thing where you take your existing cable or whatever, you put it through your Xbox. So now your Xbox, you know, it serves as like a hub for all your entertainment or whatever. But the thing about the PlayStation Vue, which is different, is that it's a service of its own.
It's like a Netflix or like an Amazon Prime. It's like an app. You go there and you get your content through there.
But you can subscribe to television channels separately instead of having a cable service, which is what interests people.
Right. No, I understand that's that difference. I think that the pass-through was a bridge to get to that point originally with Xbox because you have the Halo channel, right?
Sure.
So that was one of what was originally going to be a multitude of these things on the Xbox service, where you download a channel, it has content relating to your game, and then it has like that one's got the Halo
television channels. Like this.
No, like normal broadcast channels. I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah. But it's not too. The PS Vue also has Sony's original content on it. That's how you get Powers, right?
I think Powers is like the only thing.
I think it is.
But that's what I'm saying. That they are now saying that they want to. There's going to be another season of Powers, I believe, that they're going to be doing.
Oh, they should not even bother with
But then they want to double down and do more original content through PS Vue. So, like, I mean, I haven't seen Powers, but from what I've heard, you know, it's got lukewarm at best results. But now they're trying to push more of this kind of stuff. It just seems weird to me. Obviously, they're heading in the right direction, so maybe they're doing something right. But as a Sony, as a PlayStation first consumer, do you feel like this is where you want the console future to go?
I don't know. I mean, apps for your home console is not anything too new.
No.
You know, and that's available on basically any console that's out right now,
except for the Switch.
Really, there's no like.
There's nothing.
There's no like YouTube.
No,
no,
you can't even chat with your friends on the Switch.
The Wii had YouTube.
Yep.
It did.
Oh my god!
Very quickly. The Wii U had it at launch.
Oh, but you can look at your home screen.
Oh, see, that's where they're bringing it all together. That's good.
Yeah.
That's real solid.
You can look at the
Can
home
you be
screen.
best friends with somebody?
I can be best friends with them, or I can remove them.
Well,
that's
all you need. That's all.
Oh, you know what? You know what being best friends with somebody does?
Puts a little star next to it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's all it does.
That's real nice.
So, I mean, does it effectively not matter then as long as they keep focusing on putting out good games?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, I don't know if this like going this direction is an indication of deviating away from video games. I don't know, and it sounds like maybe that's what your concern is.
I'm not saying it's necessarily going away, but does it dilute the product? If that makes sense.
Like the PlayStation brand?
Yeah. Like for you, if people are buying PlayStations because they are the game-centric company, right? And now it's the games plus other things company, is that great? Now I get bonus, or is that, well, they're not really the game-centric company? Because you have Microsoft trying to be more of the game company than it was, and you have PlayStation that's trying to be the more of the entertainment company than it was. They're kind of flip-flopping roles, and I just don't know if that matters to somebody that was day one. I want to go on Team PlayStation.
I don't know if it matters a whole lot to me.
Okay, fair. Does it matter to you?
I don't see it as being a shift. I think a lot of this has to do with going. You have a very successful product. You're constantly expanding your ideas, right? Like there's so much more you can still do. You know, like one thing about my PlayStation I love, like I said, is that I use it for pretty much all of my primary viewing, right? But there are three things that I cannot do on my PlayStation that drive me crazy. One of them is I can't stick a USB in there and watch like an MP4 file that I get like a video online. I can only watch like, I don't know what it is. There's like a particular file type that has to be like what they use, and it's stupid. It's like if like MP3s were like the way music was, delivered, and then PlayStation was like, no, you can only use WAV files. It's like, well,
Are
nobody
you
uses.
sure about that though?
Yeah, I
'Cause
tried the other day. It doesn't work, and
Through the
primarily
media
the
player?
videos that I'm downloading and stuff like that, they tend to not be in the format that PlayStation prefers, whatever it is, right? So that's kind of annoying. It's not a huge deal, so I've took on my laptop and I go that route, no big deal, right? I can't get Showtime from PlayStation, but I can on Xbox. And I can get Stars on Xbox, and I cannot get it on PlayStation. The apps don't exist. So there's like, my Xbox has 2 apps that I use primarily for video, and then I use the PlayStation for all of my other ones, right? And I think that that's kind of stupid. It's like, Stars is a third party. Like, what does it matter? But I'm sure there's some sort of like, Microsoft gave them more money or whatever it is, right? So there's little things like that bother me, but when you're talking the box itself and what it does, it will always play video games. It comes with a controller, not a TV remote, right?
Right.
And ultimately, if they add little things, that's fine. If it catches on or if it's something that interests me, I'll jump into it. If they start to say like, this is the only choice you have, this is our focus, go this route, this is what we're doing and you have to abide or move on, then that's when I stop caring, you know? Like, I'm trying to think of like a service that, you know, was probably stupid at first, and then I was kind of like, oh, you know what, this is actually kind of useful. Like there are things like that I'm sure have existed that I've fallen into. And
I
been
felt
like,
that
yeah,
way
I
about
like it.
Twitch, and when Twitch first came out, I was like, I'm watching people play
Right,
games.
right.
And then after
that's
you're
a
like,
good
you're
call.
like, you know what, this is amusing, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is kind of helpful at times. Yeah,
But like Microsoft making Mixer, being like, well, we don't need Twitch, we'll make our own thing. And I'm thinking like,
well, that's because they tried to buy Twitch.
yeah,
Everybody was trying to buy Twitch. I think at one point, I think Google tried to buy it.
Amazon did buy it eventually, right?
Is it owned by
they did
Amazon
actually.
now?
Yes,
Yes,
they did.
it's
Because if
Amazon.
you're an Amazon Prime member, you're a Twitch Prime member now, or
Yeah.
Twitch Gold or something.
Because
whatever.
Microsoft, I think Microsoft, it was either Microsoft or Google that was basically, done with the deal to purchase it, and then at the, 11 o'clock hour, all of a sudden Amazon swooped in and got it instead. And that's why it was probably Microsoft, and that's why they were burned by it and now made Mixer.
Yeah, and
Or
Mixer,
Beam
like,
or-
I'm sure Mixer's fine, and I've used it.
I've
a
heard
few
Mixer's awesome.
Yeah,
I've
used
never
it a few
used
times.
it.
You know, one thing I do like about Mixer is that I'm cycling through. I'll like, yeah, it starts with like the most views at the top, and then as you go further down, it's be like, there's no one playing this game, but it's still there, and I'm like, that's kind of neat. It still shows up, and I've actually found that useful. Like, sometimes I'll go into the channels that are just one person's playing something. I'm just like, see what this guy's up to.
Yeah.
He's super lonely. I feel like maybe I'll be his friend for a little bit. But I think it's fine for these people to just consistently innovate and try this and try that and then throw things up there. And if a new logo pops up on my main menu, awesome. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. It depends on how easy it is. It depends if I have a need for it. It depends if I have free time to even care to look into it. There are so many things that I don't do, but maybe other people do, and that's fine. But I don't think this is a make or break moment for Sony. Sony's on top, man. They're riding their coattails. All they have to do is just keep
Writing
making
their
things.
own coattails.
Yeah, they're
how
literally.
powerful.
That's how powerful
They're
Sony
doing
is.
somersaults.
They don't.
Really.
I don't see them as anything else anymore. And again, we have a real strong interest in video games, so I think that we're maybe a little biased, right?
Sure.
But I still think that if you ask most people, they would. If you said Sony, they probably would say either televisions or they would say PlayStation. I really think that that's all it is anymore. There is really nothing else. Nobody buys cameras because they have cell phones.
Well,
But see, that's where you're wrong. See, Sony
no.
makes,
People do make like high-end cameras. Yes,
No,
they're-
but it's
but
not
s-
just consumer.
Sony makes the
Okay.
lenses for Apple for their iPhone. Like they're
Interesting.
the
Okay.
people. So that's the other part of their business. So everything is now focusing. They're scaling back on televisions. They're scaling back on computers.
Right.
They're basically going to focus. They're scaling back even on smartphones because nobody buys the Xperia.
they're-
So they are basically going to focus on PlayStation and components for Apple to make their iPhones with.
Good for them. think
And
that'll
I
be
mean, those
fun.
other things will probably be there for a little bit, but I just bring up the Microsoft thing because I am a Microsoft. I'm an Xbox person first, and I was originally one of those people that when they came out with the original announcement of like, hey, we're doing whatever, I'm like, it's fine. Games are still there. I don't care. I mean, if I have more than that, that's great. This kind of announcement to me, where they're doubling down on this other stuff, actually appeals to me as somebody who doesn't own a PlayStation, because now I say, well, I'm getting more and more reasons why maybe I should also own a PlayStation.
You mean him and I haven't given you enough of them? I feel like we've, for this entire show, not even this show, I mean the entire existence of DFW.
I don't listen to you two.
Has literally been
clowns.
2 people telling you to buy a PlayStation
That's
in
true.
one of your ears at all times.
That's true. But I'm naturally defiant, so I don't listen to what people tell me. Anyways, that has been the DwnFwdPUNCHcast episode 20. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, you could do so at DwnFwdPUNCH. That's at DwnFwdPUNCH. And don't forget about our contest. If you follow us on Twitter, you like a video, subscribe to the channel, you get entered into a contest to win a copy of Crackdown 3. How sweet is that?
Yeah, a game that's not even out yet?
Yeah.
I want
Well, you
to
don't
win
get it now.
Can
You
I
get
win?
it after it comes out.
Can I win it?
Anyways, if you want to follow me, no, you cannot. If you'd like to follow me directly, I'm at Sergio Armani. And Dave, Chris, where can everyone follow you?
Ed Cobradactyl on Twitter.
I forgot my Twitter handle. I don't
Oh
remember
my
it
god,
anymore.
every time.
Every time. I don't use it. I mean, it's
It's
there.
at David_B_Reed.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. So there's
Yes.
that. But where you can primarily find me is on my... I do Twitch stuff now. Okay? So I heard about this new service called Twitch.
Okay.
And I use that. And I'm at Paul Blart Malblart.
That's your...
That's literally my name. I cannot...
At Paul Blart Malblart?
Paul Blart Malblart.
Okay.
And I stream games like The Binding of Isaac
Okay.
and Pikmin for GameCube. Currently, those are my 2.
Okay.
Weirdest person on the planet.
That's okay. I'm sure there's people that would want to watch them.
I do have people that want to watch it.
I'm
actually.
sure.
We have
I'm
great conversations.
Good. I will have to check it out sometime.
No, you won't.
No, I won't. Anyways, thanks for watching. Once again, like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, keep on gaming.